old jazz records, glowing theater lights, and lively American nightlife still capture your imagination. Subscribe to Blue Hour Avenue. Here, you'll step into a world of timeless swing rhythms, elegant nights, and classic jazz culture. I was walking past the velvet marquise, with yesterday still folded in my coat. The sidewalks glowed like liquid diamonds, while strangers disappeared in cigarette smoke. Then through the storm I heard a piano floating warm above the crowded street, like heaven hidden in Manhattan, calling every restless soul to meet. So I climbed those winding rooftop stairs, past champagne laughter in the air, and there beneath the ruby lights, she turned and caught me by surprise. Ruby lights along 7th Avenue, dancing softly while the midnight grew. Her red gloves moved like poetry in flight, while saxophones painted shadows through the night. One last kiss beneath the skyline view, as brass and moonlight slowly pulled us through. And though the dawn would steal her out of sight, my heart still swings beneath those ruby lights. The orchestra moves slow and smoky, trumpets rising warm against the rain. Couples drifted underneath the chandeliers, like old romance returning once again. She never spoke about tomorrow, only smiled whenever I drew near. Her perfume lingered through the ballroom, like a secret meant for only me to hear. Then the band began a velvet tune, and the city disappeared too soon. Her fingers trembled in my hand, like music fading from the band. Ruby lights along 7th Avenue, turning lonely nights to something new. Her silhouette beneath the rooftop glow still follows everywhere the night winds blow. The clarinet kept crying soft and low, while Manhattan glittered far below. And though the dawn would steal her out of sight, my soul still lives beneath those ruby lights. Now every rainy night in Midtown, I wonder where the old orchestras play, searching through the jazz and laughter for the ghost of her beneath the cabaret. Sometimes when the trumpets shiver and moonlight floods the avenue just right, I swear I see her red gloves dancing across the rooftops of the night. Ruby lights along 7th Avenue, where dreamers fall in love with something blue. The ballroom fades, but memories remain, like golden melodies inside the rain. And every lonely song the city sings still carries as echoes of that evening swing. Though years may pass beyond the neon skies, I still belong beneath those ruby lights. The rain kept falling on Manhattan while the orchestra played soft and low. And somewhere high above the city, her laughter still refuses to let go. The ballroom door swung open slowly as polished shoes rushed onto marble floors. Waiters drifted past with silver trays, while couples spun beneath the grand decor. The orchestra exploded into rhythm, clarinet flames dancing through the air. And every trumpet climbing toward the ceiling made the whole city disappear. Then high above the crowded room, beyond the cigarette perfume, a woman leaned against the balcony rail, like moonlight trapped inside a fairy tale. Brass serenade under the Avalon lights, swinging through another sleepless night. The trumpet soared while lovers held on tight, and champagne shimmered underneath the lights. I sang her name into the cabaret, while jazz guitars kept carrying us away. And even dawn could never steal the sound of that brass serenade swirling all around. The upright bass rolled deep like thunder, brush drums sparkled softly through the haze. Every dancer moved like restless fire, lost inside the orchestra's golden blaze. She smiled down through clouds of cigarette smoke, while trombones melted warm against the air. And somehow every lyric that I whispered felt like it belonged only to her. Then midnight slipped beyond the chandeliers, but nobody was counting hours here. The band kept playing wild and free, like time itself had missed a beat. Brass serenade under the Avalon lights, turning lonely dreamers into stars tonight. The clarinet kept laughing through the glow, while Manhattan glittered far below. I gave the crowd my finest melody, but every note became her memory. And long after the final dancers swayed, the brass serenade still refused to fade. Now years have vanished into silence, the Avalon no longer fills the night. But sometimes when old records start spinning, I still see those chandeliers burning bright. And somewhere through the crackling trumpet echoes, I hear her laughter floating soft and low, like one unforgettable Manhattan evening that the city simply won't let go. Brass serenade under the Avalon lights, where romance lived beneath the brass all night. The ballroom shimmered like a living dream, saxophone sheen, though the orchestra faded with the dawn, and all the dancing crowds move slowly on. My heart still swings beneath that golden glow, where the Avalon lights forever flow. The last trumpet whispered through the sunrise. The marble floors grew quiet once again. But somewhere deep inside Manhattan, that orchestra still calls my name. Babe, I'd been singing there since midnight, for tired souls too broken sleep away. The piano carried old regrets, while smoke curled slowly through the cabaret. Every table held a story, every face wore yesterday's disguise. But then I saw her near the piano, with silent storms behind her eyes. She sat beneath the amber light, like a dream too fragile for the night. And every note I tried to sing became the truth of everything. Cigarette melodies near Park Avenue, floating through the lonely midnight blue. My trembling voice kept reaching through the haze, while shadows danced beneath the smoky cabaret. She never spoke a single word to me, still somehow knew every memory, then vanished with the dawn before I knew, leaving only cigarette melodies near Park Avenue. The jazz guitar moved soft as heartbreak, brush drums whispered slow against the air. She lit another long cigarette and brushed the falling ashes from her chair. Outside, the taxis drifted slowly, rain reflecting diamonds on the street. Inside the room, the world stood frozen, every lonely heartbeat wrapped in heat. Then she looked my way at 2:30, like she understood what I'd been through. And suddenly each velvet line turned her silence into mine. Cigarette melodies near Park Avenue, turning every old regret brand new. The saxophone kept crying soft and low, while whiskey rivers slowly learned to flow. Then disappeared before the final tune, leaving smoke and silence near Park Avenue. Now every sleepless rainy evening I return to that forgotten room again. The bartender still counter, while tired dreamers drown themselves in gin. Sometimes when the lights grow softer and the trumpet sighs its midnight blues, I swear I see her by the piano, lost inside the cigarette perfume. Cigarette melodies near Park Avenue still echo through the darkness when I'm blue. The orchestra has long since gone away, but a memory keeps dancing through the gray. And every lonely singer in the night still searches for a pair of vanished eyes. Though years have disappeared like gold perfume, I still hear those melodies near Park Avenue. The lamps burned out one by one. Morning drifted cold through Manhattan skies, but somewhere deep inside the smoke, her silence still survives. The grand piano rolled like midnight thunder, while saxophones drifted smooth across the room. Velvet gowns moved slowly through the ballroom, like perfume floating underneath the moon. I sang for kings of old Manhattan, for diamond smiles and whiskey hearts and gold. But somewhere past the crowded tables, a pair of familiar eyes turned cold. She stood beside the marble bar like a ghost from another time, and suddenly the swinging brass couldn't drown what crossed my mind. Crystal moon above the Empire Lounge, shining down while lonely hearts spun round. The trumpets climbed beyond the city haze, while old romance returned through smoky cabaret. She held my gaze beneath the silver light, like yesterday refusing to say goodbye. And every note the orchestra consumed brought her back beneath that crystal moon. Outside the skyline burned like diamonds, taxi rivers flowing far below. Inside the lounge the dancers kept on smiling, never seeing what the night now held. She walked toward me through the candle shadows, as brush drums whispered soft and slow, and one forgotten melody between us began to reopen wounds below. Then the band slipped into our old refrain, a velvet tune wrapped deep in rain, and suddenly the years were gone like heartbreak hidden inside song. Crystal moon above the Empire Lounge, turning crowded rooms to sacred ground. The saxophones kept crying through the blue, while every lonely lyric led to you. We danced once more beneath the chandelier glow, as Manhattan sparkled, frozen far below. And though the dawn would steal the night too soon, we belong beneath that crystal moon. after midnight feels haunted by that long-forgotten tune. Every rooftop lounge and glowing window still reminds me of the Empire Room. Sometimes when the city reigns in silence and distant jazz spills softly through the dark, I still can feel her hand against my shoulder, like an echo buried in my heart. Crystal moon above the Empire Lounge still shines somewhere beyond the clouds. The orchestra has faded into time, but her memory still dances through my mind. And every trumpet rising through the haze carries whispers from those golden days. Though years may pass beyond Manhattan's bloom, I still hear her beneath that crystal moon. The last champagne glass caught the sunrise. The skyline slowly turned from gold to blue. But somewhere high above Manhattan, the Empire Lounge still waits for me and you. Champagne laughter floated through the ballroom. Velvet curtains swayed beside the band. Trumpets burned like golden fireworks, while dancers spun in circles hand in hand. The grand piano rolled through clouds of smoke. Brushed drums shimmered soft against the floor, and every soul beneath those chandeliers wanted the nights forevermore. Then through the roaring saxophone parade, a woman dressed in silver stepped my way. Her eyes shine brighter than the avenue, and suddenly the whole world moved. Dancing shadows in the marquee room, swinging wildly underneath the moon. The brass kept soaring through the midnight glow, while Manhattan glittered far below. She pulled me deep into the crowded light, where lonely hearts disappeared into the night, and every trumpet screaming through the blue turned our final dance into the truth. The ballroom floor became a living ocean of polished shoes and swirling satin gowns. Waiters rushed through clouds of cigarette smoke, while jazz kept lifting every tired soul up now. Her laughter floated over clarinets like champagne bubbling through the air, and every time the orchestra climbed higher, the whole room answered without care. Then midnight vanished somewhere in the swing, as if the clocks forgot everything. The city disappeared beyond the haze, and all we knew was brass and blaze. Dancing shadows in the marquee room, where dreamers bloom and heartbreak leaves too soon. The saxophones were blazing hot and bright, far away, and every note the roaring trumpets through made the whole night feel forever new. Now years may fade beyond the skyline, and old ballrooms may disappear with time, but somewhere in the soul of Manhattan, that orchestra still swings inside my mind. Sometimes when Broadway shines after rainfall, and distant jazz escapes into the street, I still can feel her hand upon my shoulder, moving softly to the beat. Dancing shadows in the marquee room still echo through the city afternoon. The chandeliers may someday lose their glow, but that wild night still burns beneath the snow. And every dreamer wandering through the rain still searches for that ballroom once again, where one last dance beneath the midnight blue turn shadows into something true. The orchestra played into the sunrise, the vinyl trumpet melted into dawn, but somewhere high above old Broadway, the marquee room keeps dancing on. I hadn't crossed those ballroom doors in years now, not since the night she vanished with goodbye. The chandelier still burned like melted honey, and couples spun beneath them dressed in white. The clarinet was sweet as old September, the walking bass rolled warm against the floor, and every note that floated through the ballroom opened memories I could not ignore. Then suddenly the band began our tune, soft and slow beneath the moon, and through the smoke and cabaret perfume I almost saw her in the room. Golden gloves near Riverside Ballroom, dancing slowly through the crowded room. Her laughter drifted through the trumpet haze, like romance living on beyond the days. The orchestra kept swaying deep and low, while city lights shimmered through the snow. And though the years have carried love away, I still hold her beneath the ballroom sway. A waiter passed with crystal whiskey glasses, the piano glowed beside the velvet stage. Young lovers whispered dreams beside the windows, just like we did in another age. I walked alone across the polished hardwood, where once her satin shoes moved next to mine, and every golden chandelier above me seemed frozen somewhere deep inside old time. Then the trombones rose so warm and bright, like they were bringing back the night. And for a moment through the swinging smoke, my lonely heart almost awoke. Golden gloves near Riverside Ballroom still linger softly in the smoky gloom. The brush drums whispered through the midnight air, like every heartbeat still believed she cared. I danced alone beneath the amber glow, while snowflakes drifted quietly below. And every melody the band replayed turned lonely ears into a serenade. Now every winter down in Manhattan, I hear that ballroom breathing through the dark. Every old jazz record on the radio carries echoes from my broken heart. Sometimes when the night feels endless and moonlight falls across Riverside, I swear I see her golden gloves still dancing beneath those chandeliers of time. Golden gloves near Riverside Ballroom still shimmer gently through the years of blue. The orchestra may someday fade to silence, but our old song will always wander through. And every couple dancing slow tonight keeps alive the glow of vanished light. Though she disappeared with yesterday's perfume, I still love her. Near Riverside Ballroom, the river carried dawn across Manhattan. The ballroom slowly emptied one by one, but somewhere in the heart of that old orchestra, our dance still carries on. The bartender wiped old crystal glasses like he'd done 1,000 nights before. The smoke hung heavy near the ceiling fans, while tired dreamers drifted through the door. I stood beside the faded piano, singing songs too old for radio. Each melody carried pieces of her to places only sleepless hearts could go. Then through the haze a stranger raised her hand and softly asked the old bandstand, play the tune he wrote for Caroline. And suddenly the room froze in time. Moonlit whiskey on Canal Avenue, falling slow like memories always do. The neon rain kept sliding down the glass, while old regrets drifted through the jazz. The orchestra turned softer than goodbye as midnight disappeared into the sky. And every lonely note the flugelhorn knew still belonged to moonlit whiskey and you. The jazz guitar moved low and fragile. Brush drums whispered underneath the blue. Outside the city rolled through puddled darkness, like Manhattan had forgotten what was true. The woman near the bar kept listening, her silhouette wrapped softly in the smoke. And every word I sang into the shadows felt like promises I never spoke. Then the upright bass began to sway like heartbeats drifting far away. And somewhere through the tired cabaret I heard her name inside the rain. Moonlit whiskey on Canal Avenue, where broken hearts wait for songs to bloom. The flugelhorn cried warm against the storm, like trying to keep old love alive till dawn. Every glass reflected ghosts of gold. Every melody grew quietly old. And still the city whispered through the blue about moonlit whiskey and you. Returning to that bar, the same old stool beside the window, the same tired pianist smoking in the dark. Sometimes when the night grows colder and neon paints the avenue in flame, I swear I hear her laughing softly, somewhere hidden in the rain. The orchestra may fade beyond the night, but her memory still burns beneath the light. And every sleepless singer passing through still leaves a little heartbreak in the blue. While the city drowns beneath the midnight hue, I'll keep singing there for you. The rain kept falling past the windows. The last cab disappeared into the dawn. And somewhere deep inside that whiskey lounge, our old song still lingers on. The club had closed an hour earlier. Last call still lingering in the smoky air. Chairs were resting upside down on tables, and broken melodies were everywhere. I pulled my collar through the cold night silence, past sleeping taxis lined beside the curb. Every puddle carried shattered neon. Every heartbeat echoed without words. Then through the rain I heard a piano floating slowly from a distant lounge. And suddenly her memory returned, like smoke that never settles down. Rainy velvet beside Gramercy Park, where lonely souls keep dancing in the dark. The muted trumpets cried beneath the rain, while old romance drifted back again. Her shadow moved through every empty street, like yesterday, still walking next to me. And every drop that touched the midnight spark brought back rainy velvet beside Gramercy Park. Her saxophone was breathing through the silence, soft enough to break a weary heart. Inside the lounge, exhausted dreamers lingered, wrapped in whiskey smoke and after dark. I stood outside beneath the flickering lamplight, watching couples disappear through the haze, and every laughing voice beyond the doorway felt like a ghost from better days. Then the trumpet climbed above the storm, warm enough to keep the night alive. And somewhere in that trembling melody, her goodbye survived. Rainy velvet beside Gramercy Park, where memories glow like cigarettes in dark. The brush drums whispered softly through the blue, while every lonely tune became about you. The city slept beneath the silver rain, but your perfume still drifted through my pain. And all the avenues beneath the stars still lead me back to Gramercy Park. Now every rainy midnight in Manhattan, I wonder where the old jazz shadows stay, searching through forgotten little lounges for one more chance to hear her name. Sometimes when the sidewalks shine like mirrors and distant pianos tremble through the fog, I swear I see her crossing Lexington, then vanishing before I can call. Rainy velvet beside Gramercy Park still lingers deep within my tired heart. The orchestra may fade with passing years, but her memory survives through every tear. The muted trumpet still remembers us. The city still hums low beneath the dusk, and every rainy night beneath the stars I lose myself near Gramercy Park. The rain kept falling through the morning silence. The final cab rolled slowly out of sight, and somewhere in a lonely Manhattan lounge, the piano kept her alive all night. Sharp jackets shining under chandeliers, champagne laughter echoing wall to wall. The orchestra exploded into rhythm as dancing shadows filled the crowded hall. Every trumpet burned like fire, every saxophone moved wild and free. Then through the blur of velvet motion, a pair of golden eyes found me. She spun beside the trumpet line like midnight wrapped in satin shine. And when the drummer struck the beat, the whole room moved beneath our feet. Starlight jackets at the Riviera Room, swinging fast beneath the silver moon. The brass kept roaring while the dancer swayed, and every lonely heart forgot the games it played. She pulled me through the glowing chandelier haze like jazz had set the whole wide world ablaze. One final dance became a timeless tune in starlight jackets at the Riviera Room. The piano rolled like summer thunder, upright bass shook diamonds from the floor. Couples laughed through clouds of cigarette smoke, while waiters rushed with whiskey by the door. Her perfume drifted through the ballroom like roses falling softly after rain. And every time the trumpets lifted, I felt my restless soul awaken again. Then the orchestra slowed its wild parade as midnight melted into cabaret. She whispered low against the sound, "Tonight is all we've really found." Starlight jackets at the Riviera Room, where young hearts danced away the gloom. The clarinet went spinning through the heat, while polished shoes kept flying to the swinging beat. Her laughter floated through the crowded night like Broadway glowing endlessly in light. And even now I still relive that tune in starlight jackets at the Riviera Room. Now the ballroom lives only in memory, where chandeliers still flicker in my mind. The city changed its rhythm long ago, but some nights never truly leave behind. Sometimes when the rain hits Manhattan and distant jazz drifts softly through the dark, I still can hear that roaring orchestra and feel her fingers reaching through my heart. Starlight jackets at the Riviera Room, still shining through the smoke and old perfume. The band played louder than the world outside, while dreamers danced like time was on their side. Though dawn arrived and stole the night away, the music never really seemed to fade. One fleeting dance became eternal youth in starlight jackets beneath the chandelier true. The last trumpet faded with the sunrise glow. Waiters stacked the glasses slow. But somewhere in the heart of Manhattan, the Riviera still swings on and on. I stepped inside to hide from winter, my overcoat still heavy from the night. The supper club was soft with candle shadows and low brass glowing amber in the light. Couples whispered over whiskey glasses, while velvet curtains swayed beside the stage. A flugelhorn drifted through the silence like an old romance refusing age. Then beside the polished piano bar, she appeared beneath a silver star, holding one white orchid in her hand, like she already knew who I was then. Winter orchids beside Columbus Circle, blooming softly through the falling snow. Her quiet smile turned cold December golden in ways the lonely city could not know. The grand piano moved like distant moonlight, while trombones wrapped the room in gentle blue. And somewhere in that warm Manhattan evening, my tired heart remembered how to bloom. She spoke slowly like an old jazz record, every word delicate and low. The orchestra breathed beneath the candlelight, a snowfall painted diamonds on the road. Outside, the taxis crawled through midnight. Inside the room, the world had disappeared. Even the bartender stopped polishing glasses just to listen whenever she drew near. Then she laughed beneath the trumpet sighs, soft enough to quiet all the night. And suddenly the winter air was gone, like sorrow melting into song. Winter orchids beside Columbus Circle, turning sleepless nights to something warm. Her perfume floated through the smoky supper club, like spring arriving quietly through the storm. The brush drums whispered softly by the piano, while upright bass kept swaying deep and slow. And though the snow kept falling past the windows, I never wanted that sweet night to go. Now every winter in Manhattan, I walk those same old frozen streets again, searching for that hidden little supper club and the woman wrapped in candlelight and wind. Sometimes through the crowded evening silence, I hear a flugelhorn begin to play. And for one brief second, I can see her smiling softly through the snow again. Winter orchids beside Columbus Circle still bloom somewhere inside my memory. The orchestra has long since faded quiet, but her voice still drifts like falling melody. And every snowfall over Manhattan brings back the warmth she left inside that room. A single flower changed the shape of winter and taught a lonely heart how to bloom. The snow kept falling through the morning, the candles slowly lost their glow, but one white orchid stayed beside the piano long